Impress your friends with how frugal you are. No.
This is a 30-year-old Canon 400mm lens. 30 years old. We tried it on a modern Sony mirrorless camera. Did it work?
It worked.
Oh, Steve, recently, here you go, honey, had to send his whole kit in, the A7R4 with the 200 to 600mm lens. And so he needed to use our backup system, which is?
It's A9ii camera, and we really didn't have a backup for lenses because we could share the 200 to 600mm. Yeah, that doesn't work. So I dug through my closet and pulled out my old trusty long lens, which is a 30-year-old. Well, it's probably only 25-year-old.
No, it's 30. I looked it up. May 1993.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a 400mm Canon prime lens. So give it a shot, see what happens.
Yeah. Now, disclaimer, today we do have it attached to A7R4, but he had been using it with the Sony A9 II.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So use the Metabones converter to connect it. Metabones has always said, yeah, it's a real good translation system translator between the two systems. I was especially concerned about that because when we got together, we merged systems. So I went from Canon to Sony, and I wanted to make sure that my lenses would work because I didn't want to buy all new lenses. And they work, kind of.
All right, Steve has a few tips for us, starting with number one.
Number one, it's an old lens, okay? The focusing motors and the way that they're set up are not going to be as fast as the new lenses. So it's going to be slow to focus. You just have to live with that. Nothing you can do. And that leads into some of the other issues. Number two, continuous autofocus.
Versus?
Single shot autofocus. I've played with the single shot and with the continuous autofocus. Continuous autofocus will work sometimes until it doesn't. And I think part of the problem is the travel that the motor has to go through in order to focus it. So if you go from focusing way out in a distance to nearby, you may have issues. And there's other things too, because sometimes I'd be shooting with a continuous autofocus and it would just quit. I haven't changed anything else, but turn off the camera, turn it back on, and it kind of works again. So my simple solution to that is you just stay on single shot for autofocus.
Yeah, autofocus single.
Now there is a third setting, the automatic autofocus. Okay, and that's basically a single shot with a follow-up of continuous autofocus. You're going to have the same issues after you take that single shot.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, so one thing I want to ask is, so you didn't even try it in manual focus mode. This is actually using some of the autofocus features of your new camera.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, go ahead.
Manual focus works fine.
Okay. But if you want to try to use the auto, that's kind of nice to know. Okay.
Yeah. Manual focus is you're using your hand to actually adjust the focus, and once you get it in focus, everything else is inside the camera. Number three, frame rate. You are not going to get a high frame rate with this. Mediums, probably not. Most of the time. Low frame rate, it works. To some of the time. Just keep it simple. Single shot. Take one shot at a time. It saves a lot of headache and a lot of uncertainty in your shooting. Number four, focus area. Okay. You have no tracking. Okay. Tracking requires continuous autofocus. So that's not going to happen. You've got flexible spot. It works, kind of. It works better when the object you're focusing on is straight on in the center of the image, of your composition. You've got center focus. If you keep it simple, that's what you want to use. You don't have to worry about getting too far away from the center of the focus of the image. And that's pretty much true all the way through. Zone focus, once again, if you're trying to focus a little bit too far towards the edge, it's not going to work, which is another issue here. I've even played with moving the focus point away from the center of the image, and if you move too far away, and it's not very far, it doesn't focus.
Oh my.
So again, keep it simple. That's kind of the bottom rules for using any of these older lenses. They work really nice as long as it's really simple. You're not going to get a lot of the new whiz-bang features that the new cameras have.
Yeah, so what's interesting is you're probably thinking, okay, can I use this at all for wildlife? It's got the reach. And actually, you have.
It is. It works.
Like we're here at the heron rookery and they're just sitting in the tree. If there's another tree over here, if there was a bird just sitting there. You first started using it at the pygmy owl. If you've seen that video, he switched over, he had his other camera doing video. And so you use this for the little pygmy owl just sitting there.
Yeah, and I actually have some photos which were taken with the two lenses.
Oh, okay.
So we can kind of look at those, although I'm not sure that I ever went down to 400 millimeter on the 600 millimeter lens.
To compare.
Why?
Yeah. So what do you think of this setup?
It's lighter.
Yeah.
It actually is working better than I thought.
Yeah?
You are limited in what you can do. Anything that requires a high frame rate, forget it. Yeah, doesn't work.
Okay.
Tracking won't work also because of that. It'll take your first frame and then you have to refocus.
Okay.
So no tracking, no high-speed frame rates, of course. I'm surprised it's working as well as it does.
Okay, so that's actually can we touch on a little bit? Were the photos usable?
Oh yes, they were good. Again, I didn't go around the edges to see how sharp it was on the edges, and I didn't do any pixel peeping, but to my eye on the computer, on my screen, they looked fine.
Awesome. Okay, so kind of what I'm thinking here, everyone, is that when you maybe are thinking of switching systems and you're like, I don't want to let go of all of my old glass that I love. That's kind of where
you don't want to pay for all the new glass.
And maybe you don't have it in the budget. Right, exactly, to pay for all the new. And you just want to add things as you go. There are some lenses that will connect okay. If you're methodical and slow, maybe even if you're just doing like wild landscape or intimate shots or still life type of images, this would be perfect. Now I have to say too though, his old 50 mil doesn't work as well.
No, it works the same way. It's the same issues.
Oh, okay.
The motor speed, the focusing motor speed is just too slow for the Sony.
But I think this was a higher quality lens to begin with.
This is whatever Canon calls their master. It's got the red line on it. So in its day, it was a Canon lens, and they made damn fine lenses back then. They still do, actually. A Canon lens is a superior lens to most things. And also, it's a master. It's one of their professional level lenses.
Actually, this is all metal.
Which is, again, the best of what they make.
Yeah.
So
it was probably $1,800 lens at the time.
I have no idea. I bought it used for like $1,200 or something.
The price. Yeah. Yeah, I looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that? So One thing I would suggest, if you're not quite sure, is I believe that you can rent a Metabones adapter.
Oh yeah.
You can rent the Metabones adapter and try it out. Try it out with your lenses, because it might work. This might be a good stopgap for your backup system, like Steve's using it as, or just like that lens that you love and you don't want to let go of. It could work on your brand new gear.
Now this is just a little caveat here.
Oh,
This is Canon lenses. I have tried it on third-party lenses, and there's no guarantees.
Oh.
I have a third-party Takina lens, which I use for macro photography, and it won't even focus at all.
That's the one I was thinking of.
So
okay.
Again, no guarantees. Once you get into the third parties, who knows if it'll work? You have to try it.
Okay, so start out maybe with your high quality lenses. Well, gosh, thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Now you can dig all your 30-year-old lenses out of the closet and play around with them. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes, impress your friends with how frugal you are. No.
Okay, all right, thanks a lot. Hope you liked this. If you did, boop the like button, please. And hang out with us. We talk all about Sony lenses, wildlife photography, Rocky Mountain National Park. We would love to have you join us on our wacky adventures.
Yep.
All right, now let's...
Nope, we have a hawk. Sorry.
Oh, we gotta go. Okay, bye.